Now, we're at what is probably the most well-known part of my life story. So, I'd spent the day sending my people out with animal gifts for Esau from his servant Jacob. I figured it might placate him, calm him down before I actually saw him. I mean, it'd be nice if I could live through this, right? So, prayers and presents, covering all the bases. Then that evening, I'd sent my family and my stuff over the Jabbok River, but I stayed on the northern shore on my own. I was exhausted, I was edgy, I was really feeling a bit shaky. I was hoping for a good night's sleep. Little did I know, I was about to wrestle God.
Well, let me tell you, Scream Queen, I got everything I need to win this matchup. I got the prayers, I got the training, I got the vitamins. And if that wasn't enough, Scream Queen, I got all the little Jacobmaniacs watching my back. So let me tell you, man, what are you gonna do when the heel grabber runs wild on you?
No, not like that. Now, as tired as I was, I sensed there was somebody nearby. I called out, but no one answered, so I got to my feet, and I saw this man shape coming at me. That was it. We started struggling with each other. I mean, who was this guy? First, I thought it was Esau, but although he was vaguely familiar, I was pretty sure we'd never met. Anyway, this went on for hours, backwards and forwards we were fighting. We were pretty evenly matched, or so I thought, but then as dawn approached, he reached out and touched my hip.
I've always been an early riser. It's a hangover from my shepherding days. So I was half awake anyway, when I heard this massive cry of agony. I knew it were my Jacob, and to be honest, I feared the worst.
I'd never felt pain like it. I mean, this guy had just brushed my hip with his hand and it popped right out of his socket. Now, I realised two things. One, we were not equally matched. This guy had been going very, very, very easy on me. And two, this guy was God. And I started crying. And I mean, I was properly bawling my eyes out. And I know what you're thinking. Dislocated hip tears, Jacob. It's understandable. But that wasn't it. It had nothing to do with that. It's in that moment I realised nothing else matters. Nothing else in the whole world mattered. Not the struggles, not Esau, not Rachel, not Laban, not the pain, not anything. Nothing else mattered. Just him. Just God. I realised he is all that matters.
I'd got dressed and checked on Joseph. And then I left the tent and went down to the river. But for whatever reason, I just couldn't make out what was going on the other side. I just couldn't see it clearly. But I heard a man's voice saying, "Let me go, because it is daybreak."
See, I was holding on to him with everything I had. I mean, for one thing, I couldn't stand. But it was more than that. See, I wasn't letting go of him until he gave me his blessing. Because I felt like it was all for this. This moment, all the struggles, everything I'd done, all the things I'd been through. I felt like he'd used it all to bring me here to this. And it felt huge.
Then I hear the voice ask, "What's your name?" And Jacob replies,
Well, Jacob. And it felt heavy, my name. I felt like it carried the weight of all the things I'd done. Supplanter. Yeah. I'd stolen my brother's birthright. I'd stolen his blessing. I felt broken. But then the most amazing thing. God says to me, "You will no longer be Jacob, but Israel."
"Because you have struggled with God and with humans and have overcome." Well, I knew something important was going on here, so I runs to wake everyone else up, even Leah.
I can't put it into words. I mean, well, I can, but I won't do it justice. See, it was like the weight of everything just melted away. I was still the product of my experiences, but although they'd shaped me, they didn't define me anymore. God had defined me. Well, redefined me, I guess. Israel. Felt good. I was a bit cheeky and asked God his name, but he weren't having none of that. He did bless me though, right as the sun rose.
I got everyone together and we went down to the river. As we got there, the sun cleared the horizon and Jacob seemed to be almost shining. It were really weird though, because there were nobody else about, and I wondered who on earth he'd been talking to. She woke me up all kind of rushed, like I thought Esau were attacking, but no. When I got to the river's edge, I saw Jacob. He were all kind of glowing, you know, like the sun. Then I noticed he were limping, so we ran to him on the other side.
Now Rach and the others came running over to help me, but to be honest, I was so buzzing, I wasn't even feeling the pain anymore. She asked me who I'd been talking to, and I said God. I said God was here, Rach, and he gave me a new name. From now on, I'm Israel, everybody. I saw God face to face, and yet I'm still alive. Isn't that amazing?
I wanted to ask 1,000 questions, but honestly, he was so excited. All I could do was giggle, and then Joseph joined in, and then we were all laughing together. Oh, it were really beautiful. It were contagious. We all just sort of fell about laughing. But then I saw the dust cloud being kicked up by the approaching army. That stopped the laughing right quick.
Yes, well, and between you and me, I was trying to put the wind up him a bit, you know, scare him a little. I mean, I may have forgiven him and be willing to let bygones be gone bys, but I still owed him for that goat hair malarkey.
Though my brother and his horsemen looked like they would run us down, the whole thing seemed a lot smaller and less frightening than it did the night before. So I prepared my family to meet him. Billa and Zilpa and the kids in the front, and then Leah and Rachel and the kids in the back. And I went ahead, and I bowed 7 times as he approached.
I pulled the horse to a stop and I jumped off warrior style. I was planning on looking angry, but when I saw his face, all the pretense had melted away, and I ran over to him, picked him up in a big bear hug, tears streaming down my face.
He's crying, I'm crying, he's kissing me with his big hairy face, the kids are laughing, the wives are bawling. The whole thing was an unexpectedly beautiful mess.
Of course, I put him down after a while. He almost fell over. I didn't think I'd squeezed him that tight. But then I asked who everybody else was, and he introduced me to his lovely family. All my nephews, and a niece to boot.
It were strange, to be honest. He were like Jacob if he'd have rolled around in shade wool. But he seemed a really happy fella. I quite liked the hairiness, to be honest. And I thought he were quite good looking. Then I suppose I would. Them being twins and all.
After that, I asked him what all these animal gifts had been about. I had plenty, I didn't need them. But he insisted, so I accepted. See, I finally had my brother return to me after all this time. And I didn't want anything to bring this moment down. Truly, best day ever.
I remember it really clearly, and the memory is somehow warm. It makes me really happy to think about it to this day. Everything seemed just somehow perfect. I felt emotionally exhausted, and after what had been a really hard and at times terrifying couple of weeks, to stand here and witness such a perfect ending were amazing.
We weren't really that far from Bethel. And that felt quite fitting, you know. That is where I first met God, as I ran away from my brother. Now, I just had another close encounter with God and had my brother run to me. I'd come full circle. Deceiver. Yeah. That tag might have been fair enough. But now I was different. Now I was Israel. And this was a new beginning.